Now, Pakistan's all-weather friend, China, has become a nuisance for most of its neighbors. Take Japan, for example. Today, 92% of the Japanese consider China a security threat, so much so that a majority of the population supports an increased expenditure on security. Our next report telling you more.
A recent survey found that 92% of Japanese consider China a security threat. But are you really surprised? It's China we're talking about, an aggressor-in-chief. The annual survey was carried out by a newspaper. A year ago, 86% respondents said China was a security threat to Japan. It was 81% in the previous year. The graph is steadily rising, as is Chinese aggression. To top that, Russia's invasion of Ukraine changed a lot in Asia. It made it sit up and take notice. It also made people realize that China could be walking down the same road. It could be taking a cue from Russia and invading Taiwan. What happens then? It is the start of another war, one that is almost certain to draw in the United States. Japan is just a few hundred kilometers away from Taiwan. To top that, it is a US defense ally. Tokyo is bound to get drawn into this war, which is why pacifist Japan has decided to start spending more on national security. Tokyo plans to increase defense-related spending to 43 trillion yen by 2027. That is about 283 billion US dollars. And guess what? 71% of Japanese are actually in favor of improving the country's military capacity. Then there's also the question of economic security. 90% of Japan's fuel and gas comes in via sea. What happens when the sea lanes are on fire? China has pledged to take Taiwan by diplomacy or by force. China views Taiwan as part of its territory, and Chinese leader Xi Jinping wants to achieve what his predecessors have not been able to, which is to bring Taiwan under China's control. It's not just a flare-up in the Taiwan Strait that Japan is concerned about. There are other flashpoints in the waters around Japan. Few hundred kilometers away is the Philippines. Face-off between the Filipino Coast Guard and the Chinese Coast Guard has become the new normal. Chinese boats have been harassing, bullying, water cannoning Filipino Coast Guard and resupply boats. It's all happening near the second Thomas Shoal. This is where the reef is, 200 kilometers from the island of Palawan. China claims the shore, and it totally disregards the fact that the reef falls actually within the Filipino EEZ, which is the exclusive economic zone. In fact, it is the threat of China that has driven Japan to work much more closely with the US and the Philippines. The three countries recently held their first joint naval exercise in the South China Sea. All eyes are now on Washington, D.C. Later this week, Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida will be meeting US President Joe Biden and Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. at the White House. No points for guessing. China will be on their mind.
To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.